Imagine being dumped without a word, only to find out your ex is now your landlord. Get ready for a roller coaster of emotions and legal battles, because this is one complicated reunion you won't want to miss. Meet Yuri, a fiery lawyer dedicated to fighting for the underdog. She's at the top of her game, but suddenly, she's ready to ditch her dream job to open a quirky law cafe, a place where disputes are settled over a cup of coffee. Sounds interesting, right? At her best friend's wedding, Yuri spots a familiar face. Jong-ho, the ex who ghosted her years ago. He's clearly avoiding her, and we're dying to know why. Now, let's talk about Jong-ho. He's a novelist, although everyone sees him as kind of a slacker. Secretly, though, he owns 2 properties and is surprisingly well connected in his neighborhood. Definitely not your typical struggling artist. Yuri's on the hunt for the perfect location for her law cafe, and a real estate agent shows her a rundown spot that's been vacant for ages. No one's lasted there longer than a year, but Yuri's intrigued. And guess who pops out of the building? Jong-ho. Turns out, her high school sweetheart turned ghosting ex is now her potential landlord. The universe has a weird sense of humor, doesn't it? Yuri is furious. She confronts Jong-ho about avoiding her at the wedding, and he claims to be busy. The real estate agent bursts out laughing, revealing that Jong-ho spends most of his time cooped up writing. Busted! Despite their history, Jong-ho agrees to rent Yuri the space, even though she already put down a deposit elsewhere. Yuri's lawyer instincts kick in, and she confronts Jong-ho, wondering if his past actions are connected to their shared history. It's flashback time. Back in high school, they were part of a close-knit group of 4, and Yuri and Jong-ho were the it couple. They seemed inseparable, sharing all the seasons of young love. Then, out of the blue, Jong-ho dumped Yuri without explanation, vanishing from her life and leaving her heartbroken. The wound clearly still stings. Now, years later, Yuri's not about to let him off the hook. Infuriated by his sudden reappearance and his unilateral decision to end things years ago, she slaps him with a lease agreement and tells him to take any issues to the authorities. Meanwhile, Yuri is still a lawyer at heart. She's working on a case involving a workplace accident, trying to convince factory workers to testify against their employer who's trying to cover up negligence. This case hits close to home for Yuri, reminding her of her own father's tragic workplace accident. He was wrongly blamed for the incident due to alleged alcohol consumption, even though he never drank. Determined to find justice for her current client, just as she wishes she could have for her father, Yuri meets with the union leader, sharing her personal story and trying to persuade him to reveal the truth. This case is more than just a job for Yuri. It's a deeply personal mission. The pressure is on as the witnesses head to court, fearing the repercussions of testifying against their employer. That night, a stressed-out Yuri shows up at Jong-ho's doorstep, a little drunk and demanding to know if he's been cold and distant because he hates her. Jong-ho sends her home. The next day, Yuri calls Jong-ho, claiming she left crucial witness documents at his place. Annoyed but obligated, Jong-ho rushes over, still dressed in his eccentric riding clothes. When he arrives, he realizes it is a trick. Yuri already has the documents. She just wanted him to attend her court hearing. With Yuri's sharp legal skills and the witness's heartfelt testimony, the case goes incredibly well. Since they're both in the legal field, Yuri suggests they establish ground rules for peaceful coexistence. Jong-ho presents her with a comically long list of absurd regulations, driving Yuri crazy. This sparks a flashback for Jong-ho, back to when he transferred to Yuri's school. His intelligence immediately threatened Yuri's top-of-the-class status, but instead of jealousy, she cheerfully asked for his help and bribed him with a pastry. It was their first real interaction, and Jong-ho was instantly smitten. Lost in these sweet memories, Jong-ho is startled by a crashing sound. It's Yuri, accepting his ridiculous rulebook and starting demolition work on her cafe. A cute law student, Bae-jun, arrives for a job interview. Before they get far, Jong-ho interrupts, inserting himself into the hiring process. They bicker over the lease agreement, but before he can finish his argument, Yuri hires Bae-jun on the spot. Jong-ho scoffs at her casual approach, convinced she knows nothing about running a cafe, let alone about coffee itself. Just then, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee fills the air. He turns to see the stoic Yoon Kang, expertly making coffee. Impressed by Yoon Kang's coffee knowledge, Jong-ho asks if she trained in Italy. Yoon Kang's deadpan reply, "I learned in prison." Jong-ho is speechless, while Bae-jun, in typical fashion, is thrilled to meet an ex-con, excitedly asking about the crime. Arson, as it turns out. Unsatisfied with Yuri's unconventional staff, Jong-ho continues to argue with her. Exasperated, Yuri finally explodes, startling all three men. Later, Jong-ho is enjoying a pastry on his rooftop when he sees his cousin and Yu-ri getting along, causing him to choke on his snack, jealousy bubbling up. While cleaning the cafe, Yu-ri hears noises upstairs. Frightened, she runs next door to her neighbor, Dr. Woo Jin. He assures her the upstairs apartment is empty. Uneasy, Yu-ri returns to the cafe and finds a strange man with a hammer approaching her. Suddenly, Jong-ho appears and intervenes, protecting Yu-ri. They struggle with the intruder, and Yu-ri recognizes him as the patient she saw earlier in Dr. Woo Jin's office. She yells for them to stop, realizing the man is suffering from the same noise disturbance that's been bothering her. He'd come to seek her legal advice. After the misunderstanding is cleared up, Yu-ri takes an injured Jong-ho back to his apartment. As she reaches for the first aid kit, he stops her. Their eyes meet. A moment of awkward tension hangs in the air, and Yu-ri quickly excuses herself. The next morning, Jong-ho finds medicine and porridge left at his door by Yu-ri. The medicine is appreciated, but the porridge is, well, let's just say Jong-ho struggles to swallow it. He meets with Woo Jin, his cousin, and forbids him from developing feelings for Yu-ri. He extends this ban to himself and his entire family, emphasizing that they need to stay away from her. Meanwhile, Yu-ri hears complaints about the noise issues in the building. After some investigation, she discovers a flaw in the building's construction, poor soundproofing, and encourages the residents to sue the construction company, Yohan. This is the same company Yu-ri's father worked for before his accident. Jong-ho suspects her motivation for opening the law cafe is linked to her unresolved feelings about her father's case. Yu-ri throws the accusation back, suggesting Jong-ho is the one plagued by guilt and avoidance. The truth is that Jong-ho's father was the prosecutor in Yu-ri's father's case. He feels responsible for her pain and has avoided her ever since, even though she never blamed him. Believing his father followed legal procedure, Yu-ri had even comforted Jong-ho at the time, and they shared a brief moment of closeness. However, Jong-ho later discovered his father covered up evidence to protect his wife's family. This evidence is locked away behind a metaphorical door Jong-ho doesn't want Yu-ri to open, and he's been secretly investigating. Suddenly, Woo Jin calls Jong-ho. The noise-sensitive man is on the roof, threatening suicide. Jong-ho alerts Yu-ri, who rushes over in a disheveled state. Thankfully, Jong-ho talks the man down. Seeing Yu-ri's messy appearance, Jong-ho adjusts her clothes, sending her heart fluttering. Yu-ri bursts into tears, blaming herself for the man's suicidal thoughts. Jong-ho comforts her. Suddenly, Yu-ri experiences heart palpitations and shortness of breath, a recurring symptom since her father's death. Back then, Jong-ho always carried her to the hospital. The doctor assures her it's stress-induced, but this time, it's likely her heart racing from being close to Jong-ho. Meanwhile, Jong-ho's novels, subtly exposing Yohan's internal corruption, catch the attention of CEO Hwang, who pressures Yu-ri's former law firm for information. The next morning, Yu-ri wakes up to chaos in her cafe. She gathers the residents to discuss the lawsuit against Yohan. Jong-ho argues their current approach is ineffective and won't result in adequate compensation. Yu-ri considers his words, and while she's pondering, several residents approach her, ready to proceed with the lawsuit. Yu-ri seeks Jong-ho's help to find a better strategy. He suggests targeting the company Yohan is about to partner with to increase pressure. They form a makeshift band, recruiting the noise-sensitive man, a former guitarist, Yu-ri, a novice drummer, Woo Jin on bass, and Yoon Kang, who played instruments in prison. And of course, Jong-ho lends his golden voice, much to Yu-ri's delight. They plan to create noise in different apartments and post videos on YouTube to demonstrate the poor soundproofing. The video goes viral, infuriating Yohan's CEO. When Yohan sends a letter to Yu-ri, it signals an opportunity for the next phase of their plan. Everyone is stunned to see Jong-ho dressed sharply, looking professional. He accompanies Yu-ri to Yohan for negotiations. With their combined legal prowess and the leverage from Yohan's potential partner, the negotiations are a success. They secure a substantial settlement, leaving Yu-ri ecstatic, so much so she wants to dance in the rain. Jong-ho gently shields her with his jacket. Is this a sign of a rekindled romance? While Yu-ri and the gang celebrate their victory, a sinister figure lurks, watching her. Fueled by alcohol, Yu-ri confronts Jong-ho publicly, demanding to know why he dumped her and questioning if their entire relationship was a lie, shocking everyone present. As she raises her voice, accusing Jong-ho of playing with her emotions, Seo Yeon suddenly goes into labor and is rushed to the hospital. Later, Yu-ri returns to the cafe to find it trashed and Jong-ho's dog dead. Jong Ho appears, shielding her eyes from the horrific scene and carrying her back to his apartment, leaving her terrified. She sleeps until the next afternoon. Waking up, she joins the others in cleaning the cafe. Yoon Kang finds an old teddy bear tucked away in a corner. Seeing Yuri working, Jong Ho scolds her for not resting. He insists she stays with him until they catch the culprit, claiming he's concerned for her safety, seeing her as a younger sister. This platonic label infuriates Yuri, who blurts out that she doesn't want to share a bed with him, a statement overheard by her mother, who's standing right behind them. After a comical chase scene with her mother, Yuri joins her for dinner. Her mother, who remarried after Yuri's father's death, seems happy but still wears her first wedding ring. This touches Yuri. The police concluded the vandalism was a warning to Yuri. That night, Woo Jin takes Yuri for a walk. She confides in him about seeing a little girl in the mirror, thinking it's a ghost. Woo Jin's terrified reaction makes Yuri laugh. Back at Jong Ho's apartment, Yuri sees his father on TV and encourages him to visit his parents. But Jong Ho avoids the topic. Later, Yuri trips and injures her foot. Jong Ho carries her, causing her to squirm, and he hides his embarrassment in a pillow. The next day, Yuri can't find her wallet at the cafe. Ji-hoon's mother offers to help and mentions a neighbor needing legal advice. This neighbor believes she's being stalked and wants the supposed stalker removed from the building. As the cafe reopens, Jong Ho gives Bae-jun some career advice. Suddenly, he spots a suspicious man and apprehends him. The man denies stalking and paints a picture of the neighbor as suspicious, mentioning a foul odor coming from her apartment. He'd gone to complain and seen 2 children inside, but never saw the older girl leave the apartment, raising his concerns. The girl often goes out alone at night and is friendly with Jong Ho's dog. Yuri recognizes the girl as someone she's seen at the cafe. After pressing the police, Yuri and Jong Ho accompany them to the neighbor's apartment, a scene of utter chaos. When they mention the older girl's disappearance, the distraught mother attacks Yuri with a knife. Jong Ho intervenes and gets injured. Jong Ho asks his prosecutor friend to investigate the family. At their meeting, he unexpectedly encounters his father. Still estranged, Jong Ho refuses his father's invitation to dinner. The investigation reveals a past report of severe child abuse by the mother. The younger daughter, Ga, approaches Yuri, believing her older sister went to their uncle's place, a faraway location requiring travel money. This new piece of information adds another layer to the mystery. Where is the older sister? And what dangers await Yuri and Jong Ho as they delve deeper into this complex case? Worried about her missing wallet, Yuri enlists the police and others to search the foster family's previous address. But they've moved. Jong Ho, seeing Yuri's dedication, despite her foot injury, urges her to rest. Back at the cafe, they find the little girl, Sue, scavenging for food. Trembling, she apologizes and returns the wallet. Yuri, seeing her vulnerability, promises to help her and her sister find a better life. So hugs Yuri, tears streaming down her face. The foster family arrives to take the girls, bringing relief to everyone. Meanwhile, Pyeon Wong faces the wrath of Johan's chairman, who berates him in front of hospital staff after his surgery. A surgery made possible by the chairman's organ donation. At the police station, Yuri hugs Jong Ho, expressing her hope for his family's happiness. She confesses she doesn't want to be seen as a sister and impulsively kisses him. Amid this romantic moment, Jong Ho bends down, only to get playfully choked. Yuri follows Jong Ho to his acupuncture appointment, continuing her affectionate pursuit. Oblivious to the elderly acupuncturist's presence, she seeks to define their relationship with another kiss, but Jong Ho coldly rebuffs her, citing a breach of contract and accusing her of harassment. The next day, aware of Yuri's anger, Jong Ho hires Bae-jun as her bodyguard. However, he's forced to intervene when Yuri clashes with a child protective services officer over separating children from abusive parents. A reporter captures the incident, sparking online outrage and criticism towards Yuri. The officer later meets with Yuri, confessing her powerlessness in addressing such systemic issues, leading to a shared moment of tears and understanding. Inspired by So-ae's hopeful drawings of stars, Yuri agrees to a media interview to clarify her actions and advocate for better child protection. The Law Cafe gains popularity. A new client arrives, a housekeeper facing charges after defending herself against a wealthy, abusive employer. Yuri asks Jong Ho to photocopy constitutional law documents for the case, but he realizes he left them at a bar that's now closed. Despite having only skimmed the documents, he stays up all night recreating them. He finds Yuri asleep beside him and can't help but admire her. The next day, they accompany the housekeeper to the Constitutional Court. Yuri insists on taking commemorative photos, treating the courthouse like a red carpet. Later, armed with evidence, they confront the abusive employer. Yuri's sharp questioning, complemented by Jong-ho's calm demeanor, forces him to confess. Troubled by Jong-ho's earlier rejection, Yuri seeks advice from Seo Yan, who, surprisingly, agrees that kissing someone without consent constitutes harassment. Dejected, Yuri returns home and joins her neighbors for drinks. Drowning her sorrows, she repeatedly cries about committing Article 298, coercion, much to everyone's annoyance. The next morning, Yuri wakes up in Jong-ho's bed, wearing his shirt. She flashes back to the previous night. Drunk, she'd crawled to his apartment, begging him to sue her, then proceeded to vomit on his shirt. A frustrated Jong-ho tries to change her shirt while she acts deliriously drunk. Mortified, Yuri apologizes to Jong-ho for the unsolicited kisses, promising to respect his boundaries, while still hoping for a chance. Her former boss visits, questioning her motives for confronting Johan, hinting at a connection to her father's case. He gives her a novel, suggesting it holds clues. Simultaneously, Jong-ho finds the person who killed his dog and confronts him. Pyonwon, present at the confrontation, warns Jong-ho to stay away from Yuri. Yuri arrives home to find Jong-ho injured from the altercation, and he pulls her into a comforting embrace. The audacious Pyonwon arrives at the cafe with a congratulatory bouquet, triggering Yuri's memories of the courtroom. Jong-ho arrives just as Pyonwon condescendingly offers Yuri a job, implying Jong-ho quit being a prosecutor because of her father's case. He further taunts Jong-ho about the past, leading to a fistfight. Yuri, ignoring her injuries and pushing herself too hard, forces Jong-ho and his friends to intervene and make her rest. Jong-ho takes over the cafe, sporting ill-fitting athletic wear and adopting an obnoxious persona while advising clients, earning a slew of dislikes. He tries to follow Yuri when she sneaks out, but is stopped by a young client seeking advice. After reading the novel, Yuri questions her former boss about the author, known only by the pen name Whistleblower. The novel reveals intimate details about Johan, suggesting someone with insider knowledge. Meanwhile, Pyonwon investigates the publisher and deduces Jong-ho is the whistleblower. Elsewhere, onlookers witness a bullying incident but don't intervene. Yoon Kang takes notice of the victim. Yuri searches for her father's case files and meets with his former colleagues, seeking to prove his innocence. Jong-ho applies to the Korean Bar Association. The next day, while Jong-ho covers for Yuri at the cafe, the bullied boy, Min-kyu, arrives for a consultation. Yoon Kang offers him refreshments, unprompted. He asks Jong-ho about juvenile criminal law, specifically about imprisonment. He leaves hesitantly, followed by Yoon Kang, who removes her apron. With no one to make coffee, Bae-jun wants to close early. Jong-ho is about to complain to Yuri, but she interrupts, declaring she's hungry. He takes her hand and confesses his feelings, but asks for time to resolve outstanding issues before pursuing a relationship. Yuri is overjoyed. Meanwhile, Min-kyu is bullied again. This time, Yoon Kang appears, offering to help him get rid of them. The next day, concerned by Yoon Kang's absence and Min-kyu skipping school, Jong-ho questions Yuri about Yoon Kang's past. He learns Yoon Kang was imprisoned for attempting to set fire to a warehouse where his sister's bullies were trapped. He'd released them at the last minute, preventing a tragedy. Driven by revenge after his sister's suicide due to relentless bullying, Yoon Kang was consumed by rage. Yuri had helped him find a different path. Now, Yoon Kang tells Min-kyu to jump out the window before things get dangerous. He'll claim the bullies locked him in, and Yoon Kang will stage the scene to implicate them. Is this a path to justice, or a dangerous game of revenge? Yoon Kang sets up a hidden camera to record the bullies extorting money from Min-kyu. As a staged fire erupts, causing panic, Min-kyu escapes as planned, following Yoon Kang's instructions. After setting the scene, Yoon Kang calls the police. Yuri and her group arrive shortly after. Jong-ho is furious with Yoon Kang's reckless plan. At the police station, they unexpectedly encounter Seo Yan, the former head of the juvenile division, back from maternity leave. Known for her strict demeanor that even teachers feared, Seo Yan intimidates Jong-ho and Yuri during their questioning. To ease the tension, Yoon Kang suggests confiscating the bullies' phones for evidence of their harassment. However, the ringleader's father is the district attorney. Seo Yan's superiors pressure her to release the boys, but she refuses, upholding her integrity. Yuri disapproves of Yoon Kang's methods, insisting on following legal procedures. The next day, Jong Ho visits Min Kyu, highlighting his legal achievements and offering to help if Min Kyu regrets lying and wants justice served legally. Ultimately, Min Kyu, Jong Ho, and Yoon Kang confess the truth to Seo Yeon. Jong Ho requests the case be transferred to the prosecutor's office, offering to represent Min Kyu. He visits the detained bullies, promising their release, but reminding them he possesses incriminating videos, unsettling the ringleader, Ji-hoon. Pleased with the legal resolution, Yoo-ri hugs Min Kyu and Yoon Kang, pointedly ignoring Jong Ho, much to his chagrin. As they discuss their next steps, the district attorney, Ji-hoon's father, arrives. Before anyone can speak, Yoo-ri confronts him, leaving him speechless. Min Kyu is touched by her support. Later, Jong Ho playfully chides Yoo-ri for hugging everyone but him. She laughs and embraces him, thanking him for supporting Yoon Kang. Jong Ho asks his publisher, a former detective, to investigate the bully's parents. Meanwhile, Yoo-ri receives a complaint, and Min Kyu's grandmother's restaurant is vandalized. Jong Ho represents Yoo-ri at the student council meeting, where Pyeon Wong provides legal counsel for the district attorney. Jong Ho presents a compelling case, exposing the bully's violence and exploiting divisions among the parents, aided by Yoon Kang's insights. This forces the bullies to transfer schools. The case makes headlines, including the video of the district attorney threatening a teacher. Prosecutors investigate his corrupt dealings and seize his assets. He tries to contact Pyeon Wong, who ignores his calls, reveling in his downfall. Ji-hoon, enraged by Jong Ho's presence amidst his family's turmoil, attacks him from behind with a brick. Jong Ho wakes up tied up as the bullies search his phone for the incriminating videos. A desperate Ji-hoon contemplates killing Jong Ho to silence him. Terrified, Ji-hoon's accomplices flee and report the kidnapping. Seo Yeon alerts Yoo-ri, providing the location. Yoo-ri speeds to Jong Ho's rescue. It's revealed Jong Ho's threat about possessing incriminating videos was a bluff to establish grounds for a kidnapping charge. Enraged upon learning this, Ji-hoon attacks Jong Ho, who manages to free himself just as Yoo-ri crashes her car through the wall. Seeing Jong Ho in danger, Yoo-ri fiercely bites Ji-hoon, causing chaos until everyone is subdued and arrested. Relieved and emotional, Yoo-ri burst into tears, prompting Jong Ho to kiss her. They share a passionate moment at the crime scene. Mid-kiss, Jong Ho abruptly apologizes and flees, leaving Yoo-ri confused. He continues to avoid her, frustrating Yoo-ri. Later, Jong Ho meets with a former colleague, giving her a USB drive containing evidence linking the chief prosecutor to Yohan, revealing a cover-up related to the past fire. He asks for a few days to prepare before exposing the truth. Jong Ho dines with his mother, informing her she'll be summoned as a witness, and his father will face consequences. He apologizes and comforts her, emphasizing the importance of upholding the law. Overhearing plans for an island trip, Jong Ho rushes to join, suspecting Woo Jin deliberately excluded him due to his feelings for Yoo-ri. The group accompanies Woo Jin on a medical volunteer trip to the island, where Yoo-ri is surprised to find Jong Ho already there. She confronts him about his avoidance, expressing her hurt and confusion. Unable to explain his reasons, Jong Ho leaves Yoo-ri upset. While Woo Jin attends to patients, both Jong Ho and Yoo-ri offer informal legal advice. Mrs. Park complains to Jong Ho about her neighbor blocking access to a mountain path, while Mrs. Na complains to Yoo-ri about the same neighbor. Sensing a deeper issue, Yoo-ri visits Mrs. Na, followed by a concerned Jong Ho. They hear strange noises coming from the mountain path and discover Mrs. Park's son wielding an axe to deter trespassers. Their attempt at a peaceful resolution is interrupted by the arrival of curious villagers. The two elderly women, once close friends, are now estranged. Mrs. Park refuses to let Mrs. Na visit or use the mountain path, even hoarding delicious mugwort rice cakes. She has a hidden reason for her behavior. Yoo-ri emphasizes the importance of communication over silence. As Jong Ho and Yoo-ri argue on behalf of the two women, they unknowingly express their feelings. Their words resonate deeply with the women, who embrace tearfully. Mrs. Na promises to wait for Mrs. Park to confide in her. The conflict is resolved, and the villagers applaud. Mrs. Park invites Jong Ho and Yoo-ri for a meal, where Yoo-ri sneakily enjoys some mugwort rice cakes. Yoo-ri is acting strangely, giddy, unfocused, and giggling uncontrollably. A worried Jong Ho calls Woo Jin, suspecting she's drunk. Under pressure, Mrs. Park confesses the rice cakes contain marijuana, which she uses for pain relief. Her son, aware of this, has been illegally cultivating and selling it, explaining why she restricted access to the mountain. Following the chaotic scene, everyone heads to the police station. Mrs. Park advises Jong Ho to express his feelings before it's too late, urging him not to cause further pain to those he cares about. Jong Ho rushes to find Yu Ri, but receives a notification. A reporter has exposed his father's scandal on the news. Yu Ri wakes up disoriented, just in time to see the news report, heartbroken by the revelation that Jong Ho's father was complicit in covering up the truth about her own father's accident. She finally understands Jong Ho's avoidance. He finds her waiting. Unable to face him, Yu Ri recoils. Jong Ho apologizes and begs her not to abandon him. Distraught, Yu Ri stays with SEO Yan, finding fault with her mother for not sending enough food. News breaks that the arrest warrant for Jong Ho's father has been dismissed. He goes to see Yu Ri, who accuses him of deceiving her for 17 years. At the cafe, the two elderly neighbors reveal they invested their savings in cryptocurrency, based on advice from a hairdresser. Yu Ri visits the salon and learns about a fortune teller who supposedly guarantees investment success and offers life readings. Intrigued, Yu Ri and Bei Jun visit the fortune teller, who accurately describes Yu Ri's past. Ominously, he predicts two men will fight over her, warning her to avoid them. One will cause her to bleed, the other to cry. Yu Ri is stunned. Meanwhile, Jong Ho's grandfather, the chairman, summons him. He offers Jong Ho a position at Yohan, which he firmly refuses. Infuriated by the news of Jong Ho's potential inheritance, Pian Wang confronts Yu Ri at the cafe. She defends herself, giving him a bloody nose. Jong Ho arrives and a brawl erupts, reminding Yu Ri of the fortune teller's prediction. After the police leave, Jong Ho apologizes, but Yu Ri coldly dismisses him. He stops her, confessing his love and fear of losing her. Overwhelmed, Yu Ri walks away and bursts into tears. The next day, Yu Ri visits the fortune teller again, requesting an expensive ritual to ward off bad luck. He readily agrees. The hairdresser reveals her investment has collapsed. The two elderly neighbors fight over their lost savings. They, along with Wu Jin and other victims, file police reports. Yu Ri's turn comes, and she sheepishly admits to being scammed out of a small sum for the ritual. Just as SEO Yan is about to reprimand her, Jong Ho arrives. Mortified, Yu Ri hides under the table. Jong Ho and SEO Yan lecture the group, particularly Wu Jin, for his superstitious beliefs. Much to the doctor's amusement, he then turns to Yu Ri, questioning her judgment as a lawyer. She remains silent, determined to find the conman who scammed her, a notorious repeat offender. At Jong Ho's publisher's office, Yu Ri discovers Whistleblower is his pen name. He's been secretly investigating her father's case for years. The detective announces they've located the conman. The group, led by Yu Ri, devises a plan and goes undercover at a gambling den. Jong Ho raises the stakes, provoking the conman to bet big, hoping to recoup the stolen money. When exposed, the conman attacks Jong Ho with a knife. Yu Ri shields him, but it's Wu Jin who takes the blow, protecting Yu Ri. The elderly neighbors, seeing Wu Jin injured, unleash their fury on the conman until SEO Yan and the police arrive. While everyone celebrates retrieving their money, Jong Ho slips away, noticed by Yu Ri. He confronts his father, who confesses to providing the evidence against the chief prosecutor, seeking to atone for his past mistakes. Jong Ho is stunned, lost in thought. He walks home and sees Yu Ri watching him. Their eyes meet. Suddenly, a car speeds towards Yu Ri, striking her and leaving her unconscious. A frantic Jong Ho rushes her to the hospital, and later confronts the police about their failure to apprehend the driver. Yu Ri wakes up with casts on both arms, but remains cheerful, surrounded by friends and family. Her mother dotes on her, but she constantly asks about Jong Ho. Meanwhile, Jong Ho confronts Pian Wang about Yu Ri's accident, resulting in a brutal beating. Guilt-ridden, he vows to protect Yu Ri, fearing any further harm to her. He even apologizes to Yu Ri's mother, who comforts him, assuring him it wasn't his fault. To facilitate her recovery, Jong Ho brings Yu Ri back to his apartment, despite her protests. Mid-argument, a woman interrupts. Jong Ho's mother, who has left her husband and is staying with her son. A new client seeks Yu Ri's advice on inheritance law. The client's mother has passed away. Her father is terminally ill, and she's been his caregiver for years. However, he intends to leave most of his estate to his sons, leaving her with only a small plot of land, causing her distress. Since Yu Ri's accident, Jong Ho's overprotective behavior annoys everyone. He fusses over her constantly. Yu Ri admits she can't forgive him for his deception, her father's death a constant reminder of his betrayal. Jong Ho leaves, asking Seo Yan to comfort her. Meanwhile, Pian Wang consolidates his power at Yohan. Jong Ho's grandfather visits again, urging him to return to Johan and save the company. But Jong Ho refuses. His mother, overhearing this, angrily confronts the chairman and storms off to Yuri's cafe. Meanwhile, the inheritance client returns, asking Yuri to represent her. Before Yuri can respond, the client's family arrives, causing a chaotic brawl. Yuri tries to intervene, threatening to call the police, but to no avail. Finally, Yoon Kang throws coffee at the brawlers, stopping the fight. The distraught client confides in Yuri, revealing she sacrificed her education, career, and even love to care for her parents, who took her for granted and prioritized her brothers. Understanding the client's desire for recognition, not just money, Yuri agrees to help. That evening, Jong Ho finds his mother, Yuri, and the two elderly neighbors enjoying a drunken gathering. They tease him for making Yuri cry, leaving him speechless. He takes a drunken Yuri home, where she climbs on him, trying to kiss him into confessing his feelings. He resists, wanting her forgiveness first. Following her mother's advice, Yuri confronts Jong Ho's father, finally expressing her years of hurt and resentment. She returns to Jong Ho, urging him to put aside their differences and join her in helping others like her father. Their priority is stopping Pyongyang from taking over Johan. They meet with shareholders, strategizing. Jong Ho brings his mother to the shareholder meeting, revealing her inherited shares, challenging Pyongyang's claim, and infuriating him. The next day, Yuri seeks help from GA regarding the inheritance case. Jong Ho, concerned about her involvement in such a sensitive matter, cautions her against interfering. However, he accompanies her. The client gives Yuri a letter from her deceased father, hinting at a hidden message. Following clues from the letter, they break into the client's family home and crack the safe. Inside, they find only a potted plant. Within the soil, they discover a heartfelt message from the father. Yuri, noticing Jong Ho's similar potted plant, realizes the message's significance. She takes everyone to a seemingly barren plot of land left to the client. To their astonishment, it's a beautiful field of flowers, a testament to the father's love. They also find a suitcase containing gold bars, shocking everyone. A recording of the father's will is discovered, dividing his remaining assets equally among his children. The greedy brothers, though disappointed, are forced to accept. Grateful, the client thanks everyone, gifting Yuri a golden lucky frog. What awaits Yuri and Jong Ho as they navigate their renewed relationship and fight for justice? After taking her mother home, Yuri receives a chilling phone call. The detective informs her that the man who intentionally rammed her car has a history of murder and is extremely dangerous. A worried Jong Ho immediately sets out to find her. Coincidentally, Yuri is also looking for him. She confronts him about his feelings for her, wanting to know the truth about what he's been feeling all this time. Touched by Jong Ho's heartfelt confession, Yuri can't hold back any longer and kisses him passionately. Overcome with desire, she urges him to hurry up and take his clothes off, exclaiming that her 4 girls, a Korean idiom referring to female genitalia, have been waiting 17 years for this moment. Just as things are getting heated, Seo Yeon and her husband arrive at the house unexpectedly. Startled, Yuri and Jong Ho scramble to get dressed and answer the door, their clothes disheveled, and their appearance suggesting a compromising situation. Seo Yeon, amused by their flustered state, teases them with a knowing look, but Yuri tries to avoid the subject. After Seo Yeon leaves, Yuri insists that they keep their relationship a secret for now, not wanting anyone to find out they're dating. Jong Ho reluctantly agrees, though he's confused about why it needs to be a secret. The next day, they have lunch together, exchanging sweet gestures and stolen glances. Their obvious affection for each other makes everyone around them uncomfortable, and the romantic tension in the air is palpable. It's clear to everyone that they're a couple, despite their attempts at secrecy. This whole secret relationship that everyone knows about thing is a new experience for them. Meanwhile, Jong Ho learns that Yuri's attacker has been murdered. Suspecting the creepy Pyongyang is involved, Jong Ho becomes even more protective of Yuri, much to her annoyance. This leads to a small argument between them. That evening, Jong Ho takes Yuri home, but explains he needs to stay with Woo Jin, who's not doing well. They share a tender kiss goodnight, but just as Jong Ho is leaving, Yuri notices signs of someone breaking into her house. Seo Yeon sends someone to investigate, but they find nothing. Unable to leave either Yuri or Woo Jin alone, Jong Ho sets up camp at Yuri's house, even bringing a doctor to stay with them. Woo Jin confides in Yuri about the reason for his distress. 3 years ago, he was stalked by a patient who would break into his home. The stalking only stopped after her family promised to take her overseas. Recently, he started feeling like he's being watched again. triggering his past trauma. The next day, Yuri has an appointment with a former client who invites her to her house. Yuri is stunned to see that the woman's house is decorated almost identically to her own, right down to a potted plant in the same spot as one in Woojin's apartment. The woman even has clothes and shoes that Yuri had previously lost. Suddenly, Yuri collapses, drugged by her host. At the same time, a suspicious figure is seen photographing Woojin, but the photos reveal it's actually a man posing dramatically. He's been hired by the woman to stalk Woojin and is caught by Jong-hoo's men. He reveals the woman also asked him to follow Yuri, and that the two were meeting today. When Yuri wakes up, she finds the walls plastered with photos of Woojin. It turns out her captor is the same patient who stalked him years ago. She's obsessed with Woojin and wants to become just like Yuri to win his love. Jong-hoo and his team race to the woman's address to rescue Yuri, but Pian-won arrives first and takes Yuri to the police station to report her. Meanwhile, the obsessed woman, rejected by Woojin, tries to force him into a suicide pact. They struggle, but Jong-hoo and his team arrive just in time to subdue her. Seeing Woojin's distress, Yuri comforts him with a hug. Later, back at Yuri's house, she and Jong-hoo, now officially a couple but still technically keeping things secret, passionately escalate their relationship in the bedroom. Waking up after a blissful night together, Jong-hoo's happy glow quickly fades. He finds Yuri drafting a healthy relationship agreement, and he can't believe she's letting her lawyer instincts get in the way of their post-coital bliss. Their constant public displays of affection are starting to drive everyone around them crazy. From the coffee shop to lunch breaks, the lovey-dovey antics are relentless, prompting their exasperated colleagues to draft a formal complaint, begging them to tone down the PDA. Amidst this romantic chaos, a little girl named Si-yoon arrives at the office, tearfully telling Yuri that her mother has been acting strangely and is very ill. Yoon Kang, also concerned about Si-yoon's mother, encourages her to speak to Yuri. Later, Si-yoon's mom meets privately with Yuri and reveals her story. She works as a secretary for a powerful politician who has repeatedly harassed her. She endured it for the sake of her daughter and her job. But during one particularly egregious incident, she accidentally injured him while defending herself. He retaliated by physically assaulting her in front of everyone, and no one came to her aid. The experience has left her traumatized. Jong-hoo sees Yuri investigating people connected to the politician, and he worries. He knows these are powerful figures, including the sinister Pian-won, and he fears Yuri is getting into over her head. Si-yoon's mom gives Yuri a recording of a conversation that exposes the politician's inappropriate behavior. On her way home, Yuri is chased by a mysterious car. The assailant steals her bag, taking the incriminating recording with it. Jong-hoo rushes to her side, furious that she's once again in danger after he explicitly warned her. He urges her to drop the case, but Yuri refuses, leading to a heated argument. The next day, their loving relationship takes a dramatic turn. They revert to a state of constant bickering, clashing everywhere they go, from the office kitchen to the local cafe. Even lunch isn't spared from their squabbles, with arguments erupting over how to debone a fish. Their colleagues, forced to witness this dramatic shift, issue a second complaint, pleading for them to stop disrupting the peace. Yuri explains to Jong-hoo that she became a lawyer to help people like Si-yoon's mom, and she implores him to support her. Jong-hoo, seeing her determination, relents. He visits his father, seeking his help with the case. Yuri contacts a former client, a specialist in retrieving stolen goods, and asks for his assistance. She gathers information on the people connected to the politician, and Jong-hoo provides further insights, solidifying his decision to support her fight for justice. Yuri is touched by his unwavering support. Together, they devise a plan to retrieve the stolen recording. They infiltrate a hotel, hoping to gain access to Pian-won's room. They manage to obtain a spare key from a hotel employee, but Pian-won's room is constantly guarded. This forces two of their accomplices to stage a dramatic feigning spell as a distraction, allowing the others to sneak in and search. Simultaneously, Jong-hoo, Yuri, and Si-yoon's mom attend the politician's public event. As he delivers a hypocritical speech, Yoon Kang, back at the office, releases the incriminating audio recording to the media, causing chaos and exposing the politician's true nature. Yuri and her team celebrate their victory. Their triumph is short-lived. The politician goes on the offensive, publicly accusing Si-yoon's mother of fabricating the recording and filing a defamation lawsuit against her. Yuri agrees to represent Si-yoon's mom in court. They begin gathering evidence to prepare for the legal battle. At the prosecutor's office, Jong-hoo and Yuri come face to face with a familiar figure. Ri's ex-boyfriend, the very man who cheated on her, is now the prosecutor representing the politician. Jong-hoo, who had previously fought with him over his treatment of Ri, is filled with animosity. Meanwhile, Jong-hoo's grandfather arranges a meeting and tries to set him up on a blind date, hoping to steer him away from Ri and the dangerous conflict with Pyonwon. Jong-hoo firmly refuses, asserting his right to make his own decisions. Later, he visits a jewelry store, intending to propose to Ri after the case is resolved. He seeks advice from his best friend, but gets nowhere, so he starts planning the proposal himself. To help Secretary Cha, Ri, and Yoon Kang tirelessly search for witnesses. Finally, they find a former colleague of Secretary Cha's, who also experienced harassment from the politician. He agrees to testify, bringing Secretary Cha to tears of relief. Meanwhile, Jong-hoo exploits the opposing prosecutor's ambition. He subtly encourages the prosecutor to turn on the politician, Congressman Choi, and his cronies, bolstering the prosecutor's career prospects in the process. Simultaneously, Ri's boss, intimidated by threats from Pyonwon, becomes fearful and decides to help Ri, providing her with access to files related to Pyonwon's internal conflicts. Backed into a corner and betrayed by his allies, Congressman Choi turns to Chairman Yohan for help. To his surprise, the chairman advises him to confess to the harassment charges, promising to handle the aftermath. He then gives the congressman a USB drive containing incriminating information about Pyonwon's illegal activities. Cornered, Congressman Choi confesses to the police and provides evidence of Pyonwon's illicit dealings as revenge, leading to widespread public condemnation of Pyonwon. With the case resolved, Jong-hoo prepares to propose to Ri. During a romantic dinner, however, Ri expresses her happiness with their current relationship and hesitates about marriage, making Jong-hoo nervous. As the waiter brings out the dessert Jong-hoo plans to use for his proposal, Ri's words throw him off balance. He clumsily hides the dessert and abruptly leaves, leaving Ri confused. Back at home, noticing Jong-hoo's glum mood, Ri opens up about her feelings. Jong-hoo, in turn, confesses his deep love for her, gets down on one knee, and proposes, taking Ri completely by surprise. Despite her love for him, Ri unexpectedly declines, asking him to reconsider the responsibilities of marriage. She explains that she's not yet ready to become a part of his family. Meanwhile, Pyonwon, enraged after learning about Chairman Yohan's involvement in his downfall, confronts the chairman and attempts to kill him. Fortunately, the chairman's security intervenes and stops the attack. News of Pyonwon's violent outburst spreads quickly. Jong-hoo visits the hospital to check on Chairman Yohan and witnesses the chairman's anger towards his son. Jong-hoo and the detective investigate Pyonwon's whereabouts and discover he's still hiding in Korea, unaware of his plans for revenge against Ri. As Ri grapples with her decision about the proposal, Seo Yeon arrives at her door, distraught and seeking refuge. She and her husband have had a major fight about work and childcare, and she needs a place to stay. Now filled with regret about her marriage, Seo Yeon is struggling. The next day, while Ri is busy helping Seo Yeon with childcare, Jong-hoo's mother arrives, seeking Ri's advice on her marital problems. The women gather, sharing stories and commiserating over their relationship woes. As the drinks flow, Ri, slightly intoxicated, criticizes Jong-hoo's mother for not understanding love. Jong-hoo's mother retorts that Ri is too inexperienced to comprehend the complexities of marriage. Fueled by alcohol, the two women get into a drunken brawl. Jong-hoo and Seo Yeon arrive home, just in time to break up the fight and tend to their respective partners. The next morning, both women, embarrassed by their drunken behavior, apologize to each other, and the awkwardness quickly dissipates. Meanwhile, Jong-hoo locates the person helping Pyonwon hide, but Pyonwon manages to escape, infuriating Jong-hoo. Pyonwon then calls Ri and threatens her, and shortly after, Ri's mother disappears, leaving Ri terrified. He then calls Jong-hoo, demanding he come alone to a specified location if he wants to save Ri's mother. Jong-hoo goes to the meeting point alone, where the deranged Pyonwon unleashes his fury on him, beating him relentlessly. Anticipating danger, Jong-hoo had previously given Ri's mother a tracking device. Thanks to this, Seo Yeon's people locate her, but she's discovered and moved to a different location. While Pyonwon is away, Jong-hoo confronts his assistant, revealing he knows about the horrible things Pyonwon did to his daughter, which forced the assistant into loyalty. After Jong-hoo successfully persuades the assistant to help, Ri learns her mother's new location. Everyone rushes to a refrigerated container on a ship. Hearing noises from inside, Bae-jun breaks down the door and rescues Yuri's freezing mother just in time. Before they can catch their breath, Seo Yeon informs Yuri that Pyeon Wong has captured Jong-hoo and demands she come to the scene. Yuri races to the location and pleads with Pyeon Wong to release Jong-hoo. He agrees, but only if Yuri promises to be his lawyer. As they struggle, Jong-hoo uses his remaining strength to fight back against Pyeon Wong, but is stabbed in the process. Pyeon Wong then attempts suicide. Jong-hoo, despite his injury, prevents him from dying, insisting he faces justice. He tackles Pyeon Wong, allowing the police to apprehend him. Jong-hoo is rushed to the hospital, thankfully with a non-fatal wound. Waking up and not finding Jong-hoo in his hospital bed, Yuri frantically searches for him. Terrified he's been hurt again, she pours out her love and concern, and he embraces her, deeply moved. Jong-hoo's parents arrive to visit, but they end up arguing, while Seo Yeon and her husband also have a loud disagreement outside. Yuri stays overnight, talking to both women and offering advice on their marital issues. The next day, they enjoy a day of pampering and shopping. Later, Seo Yeon reconciles with her husband. To help Jong-hoo's parents communicate, Seo Yeon handcuffs them together, forcing them to confront their issues. They decide on a trial separation until they can resolve their differences. Yuri then discusses her hesitation about marriage with her mother, who encourages her to give herself a chance at happiness. Finding clarity, Yuri rushes to Jong-hoo in the middle of the night and accepts his proposal. Ready to face the future together, they share a joyous kiss. Jong-hoo decides to join Yuri's law cafe, drawn to its positive atmosphere. They all start enjoying weekend camping trips together. Inspired by Yuri, Bae-jun applies to the law school's public interest fund, continuing her legacy of helping others. Finally, the wedding day arrives. Surrounded by loved ones and many of the people Yuri has helped, the happy couple radiates joy as they walk down the aisle. Despite a sudden downpour, they exchange vows, undeterred by the stormy weather. Everyone gathers for a memorable, rain-soaked photo, laughing and celebrating together. At their law cafe, clients have two choices: sweet and cheerful advice from Yuri, or brutally honest counsel from Jong-hoo. Either way, all problems are solved over a cup of coffee. The drama concludes with a reminder that love has its own rules, and everyone's journey is unique. It encourages viewers to share their perspectives on the rules of love. What are the rules of your love? Please share with us.